Marduk Omicron Bloodline. Marduk is from a satanic hybrid Anunnaki lineage, called Omicron, that aligned with Necromaton Nibirian forces in order to seize control over the Giza Stargate during the Luciferian Rebellion. This faction has been primarily focused on the systematic extermination of Celtic Druid Magi Grail lines by organizing strategic Essene massacres and then tracking, killing, and assuming the identities of founder Christos beings, such as Ezekiel. Through the installation of a succession of Marduk-controlled Babylonian kings in what is present-day Iraq, they created an empire that settled around the Middle East for gaining control over the main 2D, 4D, and 10D stargates. It is from this timeline that we have non-human hybrid entities connected to this Marduk Omicron bloodline incarnating as satanic-controlled Middle Eastern rulers and power elite global players based upon their ongoing genetic modification and grooming them into blood cults. Nibiru and Marduk. Nibiru is the Sumerian version of the same planetary body, also called Marduk by the ancient Babylonians. It is believed also that to some of the Babylonians, the planet Jupiter represented their god Marduk. Nibiru or Marduk was forced into an extreme elliptical orbit of approximately 3,600 years, and is known today as the 12th planet in our third-dimensional solar system. Marduk, son of Enki. Marduk, a planetary logos aka Nibiru, gave this intelligence to Enki and Ea, who decided he would invade Sumeria and play Anunnaki god to the humans, and gave his version of accounts that the Anu created the human beings, and therefore they were the gods of this planet. This was a way to create humans as slaves. Somehow Marduk did this to the Kamaras whom he was showing his anger, who are the Chohanray masters, otherwise known as the partially ascended masters of the New Age, El Morya, Kuthumi et al. There was some bad blood about human Orion wars brought karmically to this planet with this complex situation. Supreme Anunnaki Assembly of Lord Marduk is an organization run by Anunnaki from the time of the Maldek explosion. Destruction of Tiamat. Marduk aka Nibiru entities were involved with the deliberate destruction of the planets Tiamat and Maldek. Without Tiamat, we were unable to have our 10th chakra and all its functions work inside our bodies, as she was the frequency link to communicate with our Christos avatar self. The 10th chakra has lines around our left side and its main portal is a network from behind the left ear, to the crown and to the solar star directly above our crown, about 6 to 8 inches above our head. The destruction of Tiamat, a heaven and earth principle ensouled within a planetary Eden and that creation was representing perfect harmony, is synonymous with the destruction of sacred marriage or the union of opposites, the destruction of the Hieros Gamos on planet Earth. Thus, this timeline represents the fall of Christos Sophia into the fragments of Achamoth and the splitting apart of the male and female consciousness that formed the perfect balance of the Christos Sophia. This destruction manifested the split in the wall in time, and the shift to patriarchal domination and its electron distortion that was exploited by the false king of tyranny and the imposter spirit of the negative alien agenda forces. The shift to patriarchy domination was inevitable and planned through the last cycle by the Alpha Draconis/Orion group, however the levels of destruction on the time matrix nearly took creation to annihilation. Omicron Draconians. Dragon Moth or Omicron Draconians are one of the factions behind the Orion group, one of the intruder groups of the negative alien agenda that source from the Orion constellation. Dragon Moth sources from mainly around Alnitak around the Orion's belt areas. Dragon moth entities are extremely vicious and violent and are behind most of the militant and terrorist activities in the areas of the planet that correspond to the Iraq and Iran Gate. The Islamic extremist factions observed in the Middle East are culled and orchestrated in terrorism techniques, primarily by the Omicron reptiles. See Dragon moth. Marduk Omicron in Babylon. After the Atlantean flood, these negative alien agenda factions set their sights on gaining control over the main stargates in the Middle East, and this began a series of military campaigns to conquer Egyptian civilization, which further led to a series of Sumer Babylon massacres. When the Sumerian Egypt invasions began, these events unplugged human DNA and scrambled the fire letters and the geometric codes in the planetary instruction sets, which blocked multidimensional perception of other timelines and extradimensional races. Between the tragic grid events of the Babylon massacre and the Djoser invasion in Saqqara, Egypt, an artificial tree of life was cloned into a substructure in which this red cube Egyptian pantheon tree was used as the main grid architecture for cloning Christos founder and Ceres Egyptian identities connected to the Christos identities on Gaia. These assorted AI-based red cube cloned identities such as false Ezekiel, false Akhenaten, and false Yeshua are AI holograms used to confuse, divide and conquer humanity by putting the power, control and global wealth into the hands of their invading races of satanic and Luciferian bloodlines so they rise to be the dominant ruling classes. The 7D Osiris 6D Isis anti-hierogamic Thothean Leviathan negative alien agenda architecture was utilized in Jupiter and Saturn to generate these cloned identities based on an artificial or false rod and staff alignment in the sextant matrix and clock shield template system of the planet and the 8D galactic core. This is an example of artificial alien machinery that hijacked Ezekiel's solar body and gave satanic soulless entities like Marduk Omicrons a way to assume Christos founder identities through AI holographic inserts and further incarnate into or attach into angelic human bodies. Instead, these cloned identities were really anti-human satanic or Luciferian forces, controlled by AI systems and hell-bent on destroying humanity, while siphoning out all of the energy resources, which further decimates the planet. This was how they accomplished the invasion of our planet and global mind control of the human race. It was through gradual infiltration from within the ruling classes, with assuming false identities, by essentially wearing human bodies while pretending to be human, when instead they are alien to this planet and to our species. Red Cube and Dragon Moth Omicron. Tree of Life blockages. An artificial tree of life was cloned into a substructure in which this red cube Egyptian pantheon tree is used as the main grid architecture for cloning Ceres Egyptian identities from Terra that are connected to the Azurites on Gaia. These red cube cloned identities are used to power up the black magic money debt enslavement structures put in place by the Orion Group, and used by the cabal bankers to manipulate financial markets and maintain global wealth in the hands of their satanic and Luciferian bloodlines.